Welcome to the most must-listen to show on the internet. Welcome to AEG. I am your host, JB, and I have Marlon with me this week.
Hey guys, what's up?
And I have Goose.
Secrets.
There you go. Was waiting for it. Why throw your hands up, Marlon? He's gonna do it regardless whether we want him to or not. He's gonna say that every week now. It's his thing. It's like I'm trying to think of like.
Every week I'm gonna be saying "Sic Parvis Magnum" just to screw with people up. That's what I'll say next week.
So greatness from small beginnings in Latin. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'll be saying next week.
All right.
All right.
So anyway, this week we are going to be talking about. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm stalling.
Just like style.
We're gonna be talking about the Nintendo Direct from this week, which was Super Mario Maker 2. GameStop, literally just minutes ago, is doing a beta test of some new features for the GameStop Power Rewards Pro, and Activision Jason Schreier did another article this week. This time about Activision and Call of Duty franchise, which kind of ties into what we talked about last week. And then finally, we're going to talk about Sony and the Microsoft partnership, the big, earth-shattering partnership that was announced this week. And then that'll roll us into our topic of the week about some things that came to light after that about Sony. So, yeah, who wants to start this off with some Nintendo Direct? I did not watch the Mario Maker Direct, so hopefully one of you guys did.
I did. Unlike Jeff,
right.
I prepared. I saw it literally 20 minutes before we started the show.
Yeah, I didn't feel it. I mean, I don't really care about the game, so
I just felt it. I just felt I had to watch it if I was going to talk about it on the show, So
yeah,
that's why I watched it.
I should have done the same.
That's the only reason I watched
it.
I'm not interested in it either. But see, I didn't own a Wii U, and the first Mario Maker was stuck on that console. But it looks good. It was a short direct, actually. It was I think it was 17 to 18 minutes. Before we start off on that, I do want to touch.
Longer than State of Play.
Yeah, it was longer than State of Play. That's true, and I think it was better than State of Play, even though it just focused on Mario Maker. To be honest. Yes, sorry, Final Fantasy fans, you can come at me.
I was gonna say, honestly, Nintendo has their rhythm down with those things now. They're always informative. They're always entertaining. You sometimes get some surprises of shit you didn't know you were gonna be excited about, but
I like that they respect your time. They don't just fluff around. They just get straight to the point. They're very honest and say, hey, listen, and transparent. They're like, this is what we're gonna focus on, and that's what they focus on. But before we touch on Mario Maker, because I do want to talk about it, I want to ask you guys about this. So during the end of the Direct, there was something introduced called Nintendo Switch game vouchers. And it's for people with Nintendo Switch Online memberships. They can purchase a pair of Nintendo Switch game vouchers for $99. And you can select games like Super Mario Maker. And the offer ends up until July 31st, 2019. And basically, the way it works is if you buy these vouchers for $99 a piece, you get 2 games for the price.
So you're saving $10 off a game.
Yeah, exactly. You're saving $20 per game. How do you guys feel about this? Do you think this is like a test run going forward? Is this maybe something that Nintendo would want to do as a subscription based thing? How do you guys feel about it?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, it's probably Nintendo's a good idea for them because their games generally they always stay up high in price. So they never come down in price. So something like this where you can get a discount on that, I mean, you're not really spending any extra money at that point because the year membership for Nintendo Online is $20. 2 games is $120. You're spending $100 for 2 games, $20 for the year subscription. I mean, you're spending the same amount of money and you're getting a year of their service plus 2 games. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't know if it's going to take off like they're hoping because it's them.
Yeah,
So
I agree. And actually, I'm going to kick it to Marlon once I finish because I want to ask him a couple questions regarding this. But I think it's for someone who has Nintendo Switch Online, right? Because you don't want to plunk down to $20 a year if you don't have, in order to get this promotion. But I think it's for folks who already have Nintendo Switch Online, and for people who know for a fact that before July 31st, 2019 or something, they know that there's two games coming that they want to get, and they're going to get on day one. So like, hey, listen, I know that there's two games that are going to come out, so I might as well just pay for this voucher and get $20 off. I don't know if it expands to other users who are unsure. Like Jeff mentioned, like Nintendo games usually go down in price. And as a Nintendo Switch owner, somebody who's never owned a Nintendo console other than Game Boy, it's been difficult for me in buying games because I usually depend on sales, and especially this year because I've been cutting off buying games day one. For example, I picked up Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I picked up No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again, and Octopath because they were on sale. And I remember it was only a $10 sale, and usually I wouldn't have budge. I'm like, and that's including the 20% off from Best Buy. And I'm like, man, like I felt stupid buying it because I'm like, Nintendo got me. Like they have taught me we don't lower our prices. So when we do, even if it's just $10, you better take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
But my question to Marlon is, I know you have a Switch. I know that you have Pokemon. I don't know what other games do you have. Somebody like yourself who has a Switch but doesn't have any games, does this appeal to you? Would you want to use the voucher knowing that, for example, Pokemon, you're going to get, is there any other game that would make you want to invest in the voucher before the 31st of July?
okay, so Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out this year. So the voucher will be a great deal for those who want to buy both games at a discount price. So that's one way of looking at it. Another way would be to... The reason that I don't particularly like this model, it's because it's forcing me to be buying in pairs. Sometimes...
No, that's not true. That's not true.
You sure?
So I'm positive. Yeah, I saw the direct literally half an hour ago. So you buy the voucher, and you can buy one game. For example, let's say you get the voucher today. You can get one game today, and then you can pre-order, for example, Pokemon Sword and Shield that comes out at the end of the year. I don't even think it has a release date. I could be wrong, but I don't think it has a release date. So you don't have
holiday.
Yeah, holiday 2019. So you don't have to use both of them at the same time.
Okay,
That
gotcha. So I don't have to use both of them at the same time. I can just save it.
You can bank it. Yeah, you can even bank.
So
both
you spend the $100 up front though, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. You do spend the $100 up front.
Gotcha.
But like you said,
you issue.
But you can of course. Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're spending the money up front for. I'm assuming it wouldn't be any different than actually it would be different because they only put a temporary hold. But yes, you are spending the money up front. But there is a guarantee that you will be able to redeem these vouchers for a brand new game when they do release, if it's in the future.
Mm-hmm. And this has to be only an online. Yeah. I mean, if the person is only online,
let's say for example, I obviously know I'm gonna buy one of the new Pokemon games. I'm obviously gonna buy the Link's Awakening remaster when it comes out. I can spend that $100 now and be like, all right, I have basically those two games paid for right now. Just I'll use the voucher when they come out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah, I guess I can understand from that point of view where it would make sense. Again, I like the idea. I think that this would have been a lot more better for me, or not better, but just more incentivized if they would have added this back in Nintendo Club and stuff like that, where it paid to be subscribed to the subscription. It paid to just feel like you were important to Nintendo. And I get it. It's just a little perk that you get from Nintendo Switch Online. But I mean, PS4, Microsoft are doing better when it comes to this type of subscriptions-based programs.
Well, but you also have to take into consideration it's freaking Nintendo. They are always behind on this stuff.
So it's a nice...
I get that, but I'll be honest, I get that, but I'm also kind of tired just personally of that Nintendo excuse of, oh, it's Nintendo, so
Yeah.
we'll give them like a free pass. Like I
I
think we got to
can't.
take
Well,
them
no,
to
I'm
task on
not.
stuff like this.
I exactly. I don't. That's where I guess I misunderstood. Like I understand that they are behind because it's Nintendo, but it is not a fucking excuse. Like you clearly, most of these companies, Microsoft, Sony, can see their competitors and see what their competitors are doing and adapt to those situations. Nintendo fucking doesn't do that, and they need to.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought about when I saw it was I sort of feel like they're still getting on top because like the only way you can get the voucher is if sorry about that. It's somebody is passing by the window with very loud speakers. Sorry, listeners. My city is
I was gonna say we're gonna get busted for copyright now.
my city is a forsaken one.
Yeah.
But in order to get the vouchers, you have to pay. You have to be a Nintendo Switch Online member. So I sort of feel like they got you because those same $20 that you're saving are the same $20 that you're spending on Nintendo Switch Online, which they've already got if you have it.
Saying it's the same money. You're spending literally the same money either way.
Yeah, you're spending the same amount of money. Some will make the argument of, oh well, you can include Nintendo Switch Online for a whole year, but I'm like, well, that's not really saying much.
Even with
it'd be like something like, okay, for maybe like somebody like a retailer could sell 2 digital vouchers and a year of Switch Online for $120 a month. So then then at that point it's the same difference.
But moving on, listeners, Super Mario Maker 2. It looks really good. It looks like it's going to be a big upgrade over the first one. So they're going to introduce co-op play. So not only can you play together with friends, but you can also build and design levels with another player on the same console. They didn't say that you could do it online, which I was a little bummed out about. But I do like the fact that at the very least they give you the option for couch co-op in order to build. But there's other different additions as well. The game will include like brand new themes. I think they showed winter, a forest, a desert.
Yeah.
They also had a new nighttime option, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm assuming the first one didn't have it.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's a lot of little stuff like
but they certainly add up. Yeah, but they certainly add up to what I think is probably going to be a good game. Like I'll be honest, I wasn't interested in it at all. I just watched it for the show, but watching it got me interested in it because it's going to have over. I don't want to say over. I think they mentioned 100. It's going to have 100 single player levels made by Nintendo.
That alone gets me a little bit like I am probably still not going to purchase it day one because
I'm right there with you. I don't think so either.
It's just I'm like one of those people where I don't like to create stuff. I like to play things that other people created. I just don't have that gene. But I think that the fact that Nintendo is putting single player levels in this that they're creating, I think is going to be really a nice addition and makes this definitely a more tempting package than the first Mario Maker.
Makes sense. I'll be devil's advocate on this one. I will not be buying Super Mario Maker 2 because Super Mario Maker 1 left me with a bad taste in my mouth. I spent over, 30 hours building a couple of levels, and I was really proud about it, And then Nintendo's moderators, when it comes to levels in Super Mario Maker 2, Super Mario Maker, have this, what's the word that I'm looking for here? Have this sort of issue, laissez-faire idea when it comes to levels is that if they don't like it, they will delete it without telling you about it. Your progress will be deleted no matter what you do. And sometimes the moderators can get really nitpicky about it. And for me, that was what like drove me off on the game in the first place. Because what was the point of me busting my butt trying to create this cool creative design world just for some moderator that's like, oh, I don't think your level is qualified to be in Nintendo's store. So,
but did they give you like a reason as to why?
No. Half of the time they just delete it like automatically from the Super Mario store.
Yeah, if that's true, that kind of sucks because like if you're building, it's okay if they take it down once or twice, or if it's a copyright thing, but at least they should be transparent and say, hey, listen, this is why we took it down. These are the reasons why. So that way, when you're building your next level, okay,
Like,
so I don't do that. I don't do this.
yeah, but some of the times, like the rules for how what you're supposed to build it and what you're not supposed to put on it are so arbitrarily vague that you're like, okay, so 300 people put the same type of level and they're okay with it, but I put it on and it's like, so sometimes like kind of blacklist like players and stuff like that. So, and I'm talking about doing like very offensive levels where I understand those things that don't make any sense, or levels that are not supposed to be beaten that a lot of the players have, where just like, oh, you beat it because of a glitch, you beat it because of a certain, like those super hard Mario levels that you get. I get that, but some of them are like, why are you deleting this? But I don't know. It just annoys me. It's just like
just real quick, going back to Super Mario Maker 2, I wouldn't want people to dismiss it as just like a small iterative upgrade over one.
No.
Based on what I saw, it looks like it's like, again, just like JB mentioned, it's going to be a lot of small things, but I think they're all going to add up to quite a bit. Like I think there was like a little section where you saw like a little cart. I think it was called the Koopa Troopa car.
Yeah.
One of the things about the first one was that I think it was only based in the NES era. So you got only those graphics, but this one, you're going to have different graphics or different eras of Mario throughout Nintendo's console. So you're going to have NES, SNES, I believe. You're going to have Paper Mario type graphics. You're going to have Super Mario Brothers U type graphics. You're going to have, there's a whole suite of like new creator tools with slopes, snake blocks that you can work on. It's going to have things like an on and off switch, which I think look pretty cool. One of the things that I just want to get across real quick before I hand it over to Jeff is,
sure,
it looks cool, and I agree with Jeff. I am not one of those folks that will spend 30, 40 hours building a level, and I am so grateful for people that do, because I'm pretty sure the majority of the folks who will buy this, it'll be like maybe 5% of the population who buy this who will actually spend time creating these levels. But that 5% of the population is what's going to give this game like,
oh hell yeah,
like an extended life. Yeah, it's going to give it its legs, hopefully. I mean, I'm happy that Nintendo, dug down and said, hey, listen, we're going to give you 100 levels that we made, right? But that's also a great thing, because they're setting an example. They're like, hey, listen, this is how you should build levels. This is an example. This is the blueprint for folks out there, for, cavalier folks out there who want to try their hands on building a level. And we're giving you the tools necessary to do that. And I saw some of the gameplay on how to build, and it looks pretty intuitive. Again, I saw it. I'm like, maybe if I were to get into it myself, I'd just be put off. I'm like, oh my god, this is so obtuse. But for the but again, you're going to be able to basically build Super Mario levels the way that Nintendo does on a console, and I think that's pretty cool.
And that's what got me to play this thing in the first place. It's just that, like, when you play Super Mario World levels, some of them are so fucking creative and stuff like that, that just makes you like, man, this could have gone in a Super Mario game. This is so like up there with Nintendo. But so in Super Mario Makers, you were Super Mario World, Super Mario Bros 2, just the templates that you could put on your levels. The fact that we're getting Super Mario Paper and all these other Super Mario games that I've had over the years for adding templates and levels, that to me was like, okay, this should have been like a DLC for Super Mario Maker, but I can understand how Nintendo does about things. So for me, in that instance, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that they're bringing it to the game. And again, my issue isn't with Nintendo, isn't with the game. It's just with the moderators that deal with the levels. Playing some of those difficult kaiju game levels of Super Mario was like so rewarding when you finally beat it, that it felt like I was playing Dark Souls. That's how difficult some of those levels were. But hopefully, have they said anything how they're gonna change the Super Mario like 100 lives aspect of it?
I didn't see them talk about that in direct.
Gotcha. Okay. I have to figure out how they're doing about that, because they need to moderate the way that some of those levels go, because they can get really what's the word I'm looking for here? There's very big disparity when it comes to level designs and the hard and very hard aspects of Super Mario World Maker when it comes to that specific mode. That you could have a very easy level at the beginning of the mode and then have a very difficult level at the second time, as opposed to just gradually getting harder and harder and harder until the most difficult level is the last one, as opposed to being the first one and you're losing and you lose all your 100 lives like that. So that's just my take. I don't know what about you, Josh?
I mean, I don't really. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't have a lot to really say on the game. I think it's going to be interesting for the people that like that style of thing, like that creative, like a Little Big Planet thing, but are hardcore fans of Mario and will enjoy it. I mean, the first one gave that. This one seems to be giving that in spades, and even more depth and things like that. It's not for me, I guess I'm kind of glad at myself that I've started to realize that about certain games. Like, old me would have probably bought this regardless if it was for me or not, because it's a new Nintendo game, I better purchase it. But I'm thinking, I know I'm growing as a human being. I'm a real boy. All
right, Pinocchio, relax.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
but moving on.
I think it's gonna be good, but not for me. But it was nice that Nintendo showed it off like they did. So,
gotcha. All right.
Moving on. Our next item on the list is something that literally just happened. I think while we were sitting in the with the pre-show and stuff like that for here tonight. GameStop. They have their GameStop Pro membership. That is like their rewards membership. It's $15 a year, and you get 10% off pre-owned games and accessories, 10% more when you trade, a buy two get one free coupon when you start, as well as many other discounts like extra points that you can use to redeem for coupons and stuff like that. Well, that was the Pro membership, but they are currently in beta testing. Instead of doing 10% off pre-owned games, they are getting rid of that and giving you a $5 coupon every single month, while also raising the price of the subscription service from $15 to $20. So they're raising the subscription service by $5 a year.
And it doesn't roll over, which is what kills me.
It
doesn't really kill me because I don't go to GameStop at all. But
right, but like the coupon. Thank you, Goose. The coupon does not roll into the next month. So if you're like, I want to get the new Ghost Recon, and it's May. If I just save all my $5 coupons from now until October, I can get half price off the game. That would make sense.
I'll be honest. I'm glad. I'm so happy that you brought this up before we started the show. Literally minutes before we started the show, and I saw it. I went to Warriors Twitter and I read up on it, and it just feels to me like GameStop is first. I don't want to say it feels predatory. I don't want to use that word, but it feels like they want to, especially with the condition of hey, it doesn't roll over. They just want you to spend the $5 every. They want you to buy something basically at least every month. And it feels like they're grasping at straws because they raised the price, and I don't shop at GameStop rarely, only if something is exclusive there that I want. But it sort of feels like they're trying to stiff the customer. Like 10% off for pre-owned games and accessories seems like a pretty sweet deal at $15. So if they're raising the price, but they're also lowering the value of the subscription, in my opinion. Like Jeff, I'm so happy that you used to work at GameStop. Like, how do you feel about this? And two, how popular was Pro membership over at your GameStop, and how often did people buy pre-owned games and accessories?
Okay, that's a lot of questions. All right, it was pretty popular. I'll be honest, I was pretty darn good at selling it, especially if somebody came in. We had a pre-owned copy of a game that had come out within the last month. You were going to save $10 off the game, so you're pretty much going to pay $5 for a year of the membership and pay the same price as you would buying the game brand new. That's how That's how I sold it. I don't think
that was the con, folks. That was the con.
Yeah. I don't think raising the price by $5 is a good idea. I don't think taking away the 10% off discount is a good idea. I mean, the extra trade bump is nice. Like, okay, keep that. That makes sense. You know, gotta give them something for having. I mean, $5 a month, really? Like, that's fucking nothing.
Feels like a pittance, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I understand that, you know, Best Buy Gamers Club Unlocked is going away. But you got 20% off a brand new game. And I understand margins for these companies for the games are very small, and that's why, you know, Amazon was getting rid of the percentage off of pre-orders. That's why Best Buy is doing it. I get that these companies are not making a lot of money on this stuff to begin with, and with GameStop, their profit is all from their pre-owned stuff. I mean, that is their bread and butter. That is what they're making their money on.
I have a question, actually. The prior subscription of Pro, that was $15 a month. Did that include?
Or it's $15 a year. Sorry.
$15 a year. Sorry, I apologize. Did that include the extra trading credit for games and 12 issues of Game Informer as well?
Correct.
Okay.
That's why.
And it still does. In the from what I can tell, the only difference between this new membership and the old membership is the price increase and the getting rid of the 10% off pre-owned games. Everything else still stands.
So here's my issue. The reason why I was always getting the GameStop membership was mainly because of the Game Informer 12 issues.
It's a pretty decent magazine.
Because
for $15 a year, that's a decent price for the magazine. Honestly,
that's the only reason why I am getting and usually get the GameStop membership, because of that 12 issue, you know, Game Informer magazine for $15. The fact that it's bringing up the price to $19.99, which is the same price of the Game Informer for 12 issues, for me it's like, okay, I get it. It's still about the same price. But for me, I don't sell my used video games to GameStop because they literally, you know,
they don't give you a lot. They don't give you enough for it to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and number two, half of the stuff that I do buy from GameStop, I don't buy used games, I don't buy used tech, and I don't buy all their accessories, because I'm pretty much the guy that says, listen, if I want a PS4 controller, I'll go to Best Buy with my Best Buy credit card and I'll buy it from there. I'm not gonna go to GameStop to buy your used tech, because half of the time I know that you're either selling it at a slightly discounted price, but
or it's got bugs in it.
Thank you. Or it's like a crappy just used tech that has like some disgusting thing on it, and I'm like, no, I don't want this. I'm like, why? You know,
like I don't somebody's know, like ball must or something.
So I don't know what the condition of the controller is going to be, and so since I don't know what the condition of the controller is going to be, and I'm not going to clean it because I'm not going to be the one clean somebody else's mistake, you know, I don't tend to buy used stuff, so I tend to just buy. Like, I understand some of the people out there are going to do it, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. This is just me as a whole. I don't like that. So I just see myself just getting to the Game Informer magazines just directly from them. You know, I don't see myself just keep going to GameStop to getting it. Look at this. Buy 2, get 1 free owns welcome offer. Question, Jeff.
Yeah.
When I read that, is that just like a welcome offer, like a one-time deal?
Yes. Well, I mean, they have like sales and stuff like they just had like sales that
Memorial Day. They got the Memorial Day sale. They had the Pro thing too. I think a week ago.
It was last Saturday. They had Pro Day where if you're a Pro member, you can get stuff like that. But no, Marlon,
buy 2 game 1 for free.
Buy 2 pre-owned games, get 1 free.
They always push their pre-owned stuff, which I just
that's
hate.
The thing that annoys
like the
me
first
about
thing I do when I go to the website, especially, I always check out the sales, right? Because maybe there's something I do want, right? And what I'll do is I'll just link it over to Best Buy so they can price match. That's usually That's usually what I do because GameStop screw you. You're not getting my money unless I want to give it to you. In most cases, I don't. But I remember what was I think it was yesterday because I think the sale went live for Memorial Day yesterday. So it went live on the 19th. So I checked yesterday because I started getting all these tweets from Wario. So I look and I'm like, is there anything that I'm interested in? And I saw that they had Left Alive. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks cool. But when I went to the website, and I clicked on their link, the first thing they push on you is the pre-owned stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to judge anybody, right? If you want to save money and you want to buy pre-owned, that's okay. I respect it. I've never bought pre-owned. I don't buy games pre-owned. I like to, I just like new. I'm like, don't push that on me. I feel like you're just always constantly hawking this stuff, like, hey, to buy this, and it isn't necessarily different when I go to the store. When I go to the store, it's the same thing. I'm like, oh my God.
I used to buy pre-owned pretty much almost exclusively because with being a pro member and being an employee, I got 25% off pre-owned games, and a lot of people would buy something, hate it, and turn it around and trade it right back in. So a lot of times I would get brand new games, basically for 25% off.
But that's the thing.
That makes sense because you had the upper leg of being an employee, so you had that other percentage that probably stacked on top.
Which is the thing.
Yes.
This is the thing that annoys me even more is the fact that the employees get first dibs on the good stuff. For example, I went to GameStop a long time ago to go buy Devil May Cry 4 for the PS3. They had the collector's edition of Devil May Cry 4, like the steel book and everything, So I said, you know what? Let me buy that. I go in there, and the case that I had, that they put on the aisle, it was brand stinking new. So I give it to the guy, and then I see him. He go to the back, pick another case which was different than the one that I had, that had scratches all over the back, and I'm going, there's another one. Like, no, dude, yeah, that I know, I understand, but the one that you have over there, that's just a promotional one. That's the one that we keep just to put on the aisle. That's not the one that we give to other people. And I'm like,
I've never understood why they got their games, dude.
Why?
I have always, and Jeff, maybe you can correct us on this because you work there.
Why?
But I'm like, I don't know of any other business that sells video games they call it gutting, where they open all their games and put them up for displays. I have never understood that, and I'm like, there's a conflict of interest there. I have a feeling that you have sold the brand new games as used, or you do, or they do that to people. I'm like, why do you have to open games? It just doesn't make any sense, especially when you're selling things used. Like, people are going to question it. They're like, wait a minute, you're charging me brand new for this game, but it's not wrapped, it's not sealed, and you're going to give it to me inside of a dirty case in an envelope. No.
Yeah, that's my issue with GameStop. And the only reason why I have GameStop Pro was because of the Game Informer magazine. So I thought, hey, $15 for 12 months issues. I'm like, that's a pretty good deal. I'm saving $5. I'll take it. But now now that you're bringing up the price to $19.99, which is the same price as the Game Informer from any other subscription base, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And if I'm gonna go to GameStop, it's just gonna be. Here's my issue. I use GameStop Pro, but the problem that I don't go to GameStop enough to warrant keeping the subscription every single year. So sometimes it elapses and I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't need it. But whenever I need to go buy like an exclusive game, it usually falls when they're not doing any sales and when they're not doing any, promotional, like 10% discount on it, like, so for me, that's like, and the fact that Best Buy it's getting rid of their, gamers club, bro, man, why are we like just getting,
they got rid of it,
fuck, like that, like just be like Steam, make it so that we want to buy from you, okay? Like this is the issue that I have. Make it so that we want to buy from you guys. Like, just look at what happened with Epic Store right now, like a couple of days ago. I'm like, just don't even. I'll let you guys talk. I'm
glad that you mentioned the DCU. Not to go on a big tangent or anything, but I've been thinking about it because my Gamers Club Unlocked subscription is going to end next year in June 2020. It's when it finishes. And I realized that since 2016, since I've had it, my gaming, like the way I buy games, my habits have changed drastically because I don't ever pay $65.31, which is what you pay here full price for a game, including taxes in New York City. I never pay that for a game. I haven't paid that for a game in years. And my gaming habits have certainly changed, although this year I've cut back significantly. I still buy games. I still wait for sales. I buy games that I otherwise wouldn't. It's like an impulse. It's like, hey, I know that it's going to be $52.25. I can spend that money. Boom, that's easy. And some people will be like, well, it's only $13. Is it a big difference? I'm like, yeah, for me mentally it is. It is a big difference. I can buy two. I can buy three. I mean, I took a big dip on those 3 Switch games. I was like, man, $49.99 plus the GCU 20%. The other one's $29.99 plus the GCU 20%. I'm like, yeah, I gotta buy them. I can't wait. And I regret not getting. There was another one that I wanted to get, and I regret not doing it, which was The World Ends With You, the Switch remaster. It's on sale now for $44.99, but I'm like, nope, I'm gonna wait for it to go to $39.99, and I'll buy it then. But when my GCU discount is up, when the subscription lapses, like, I'm gonna have to think strategically and really double down and wait for sales. Wait for things like Newegg, which have sales. Count on Wario much more, because I'm just not going to have that extra 20% savings. Which for somebody like me, like us, who buys so many games throughout the year, you really do save a lot of money.
Yeah, which is the thing that annoys me about the whole situation, because GameStop doesn't make you feel like you're saving money. It just feels like you're giving them money to basically just, go back and just, hey, screw you. But the fact that we have Jeff here and he has work and he has seen the other side of the curtain. He has been the man behind the curtain at times.
It's funny. Like, I look at GameStop in a completely different light even now, being a couple of years removed from working there. At the time, I really didn't think anything of their predatory practices. And honestly, I think they've gotten worse as I have left the company.
I don't think anybody can judge you for it. I don't think anybody here is judging you for it. Like, it was your job. It's what you used to put food on the table. So I sort of get why
you have to do the things they have to do. It's just looking at it from another perspective after you go back and look on it and you go, holy crap, like, because no longer now you're on their side of the fence, now you're on the outside looking in and you're like, I don't know about that. It's those types of situations. For me, I get it. People that work in GameStop have to make a living, and I get it that most of the time they're just, doing there to get paid. They're not doing it to screw the customer. They're not doing there for, just being like douchebags. And I guess some of the people are there being douchebags, but half of the time I feel like they're just
Mike from GameStop in Myrtle Avenue. Fuck you. Okay, Mike? Fuck you. It's your stupid looking Superman tattoo on your right forearm. Fuck you. You nerd.
Okay, we're demonetized. Forget it. This has been the one. Micah's gonna come and kill us all. Jesus, it's gonna be the second coming of John Wick 3.
We're fucking dead.
Oh my God, because we have a megaton. I don't know whether I should talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. Wario just retweeted. This is a scoop, folks, listeners. This is a scoop.
Scoop.
Takashi Mochizuki from the Wall Street Journal has a video that has leaked. Sony's official video comparing performance of PS4 Pro versus next-gen PlayStation. And we're currently watching PS4 Pro, and now we're watching next generation, and I can tell you it looks so good. It looks quick. There's a big, oh wow. Oh my God. I'm gonna send this to you guys right now.
All right, hold on.
This is bananas. This is real big. Big league.
All right. Yeah, I wonder how that video was.
GameStop will be discontinuing the 10% off. It pisses me off. I was looking at it. All right, looking like so for example, let's look at how GameStop's game stores as a whole do sales and stuff like that. Like, for example, let's compare Steam and Epic right now. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think that honestly, Steam, even though as many big moves as Epic is making, I feel like Steam is still going to be the dominant force. Yeah,
I am happy that Epic exists. I personally am not a fan of how they've gone about things in terms of snatching up exclusives. I don't like that practice because it sort of feels like
Holy
you're.
cow!
I know. It sort of
Sorry,
feels
I'm
like,
watching this video.
it sort of feels like you're benefiting at the expense of others, and you should always let the market decide. I'm a free market guy, always have, always will be, but I love the fact that Epic is taking it to Steam. They're taking it in the most important way possible, which is they're lowering down that 30% tax. I call it a tax. It's a 30% tax to all developers. We've talked about it on the show before, but the Epic Store doesn't have that. It's a 12% tax that they take from all developers, and Steam needs competition. You need competition in the market, right? All of us have heard this before. Competition breeds innovation, and when you have a big conglomerate like Steam, they get tired, they get old, they get complacent. I mean, not to get into wrestling, but look at Vince McMahon and WWE. It's been crap since he bought out Ted Turner, and now we're gonna have AEW, and hopefully they're gonna light a fire up under Vince's ass, and they're gonna make wrestling great again, because that's what we need. But
so here's the thing.
I love you, Goose.
My point of view is this: what do you guys like?
I love you too.
Like for example, you think that because the thing that I was brought up with the whole Epic and Steam Store and the fact that they have sales and stuff like that. What do you guys think about this whole situation with Epic's about that if you buy 5 more games fast enough, they will basically ban your account until you talk to customer support?
I think it's just fraud. I think it's probably like a back end thing where they probably don't have the resources or not the resources. I'm pretty sure they do. They just don't have the infrastructure built to fight off fraud. So I'm pretty sure it's just for to defeat fraud. Again, I'm thinking Marlon made a good point, because I said before the show started, I'm like, hey, how many people are just buying tons of games? And he's like, no, but you check this out. When Steam has a sale, I buy lots of games for my girlfriend. Because I can gift her a whole bunch of games because just so easy.
Sales. They're cheap. They're like $2-3 of games that I know she's gonna enjoy, and I know that she will have fun with it. And they're usually about $15-20. They dramatically drop down. We're not talking about like what GameStop is doing with fucking 10% bringing back your used shit. No, it's like 75, 85, 95% discount. Sometimes it even goes for free. Games that you want to enjoy and have fun with. It's one of those things where when I look at the Steam Store sales, I'm like, man, I just wish EA and Epic and some of the other like competitors would do something like this, and they don't. Nintendo, for crying out loud, I wish they didn't do something like this, but they don't. And man, that video, holy cow.
Yeah. The when they did the scan across New York City, and like the Pro one kept freezing up because it just couldn't render fast enough, and then
that's insane. That's
the next gen.
Do you guys want to get into it real quick?
Yes, please. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
let's do it live. Fuck it, let's do it live. So, what do you guys think?
Live.
Okay, so for the listeners out there, just a real quick context. So a couple weeks back, Sony finally announced the next generation PlayStation. We're going to call it PS5, although they haven't yet. And one of the things that came out of that was that there was a video that they showcased over to the folks at Wired, in which you had the open world that Insomniac created in Spider-Man New York City, my home base, and they showed off a video in which there was a comparison between PS4 Pro, Spider-Man running on PS4 Pro, and Spider-Man running on the next-gen PlayStation. And now this very video has leaked. It's leaked on Twitter. As I mentioned before, Takashi Mochizuki, he has posted it from the Wall Street Journal. And it's something incredible to behold. It's something you've never seen before. I mean, I've never seen it before. They have some time here. You can see that it takes about 8.10 seconds for the camera to pan through the city into, I believe it's Grand Central Station. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, because it's my city. I'd be ashamed if I was wrong. And then it takes 0.83 seconds, if that's even a second, probably less than that, for the camera to do the same on next generation hardware. And it's quite a sight to behold, I can tell you. It looks, it's video off a screen, off a projector, so the quality doesn't look too good, but you can tell that on the next generation system, it is substantially faster than what you have on next generation. And it's just something incredible.
The fact that for example, for me, when they did the loading screens, I'm like, okay, it can happen. It is what it is. Sometimes PS4s are not going to be the same. People tell me, oh no, they all run the same engine. Like, no, some PS4s are a little bit faster than the other ones. But this one, this is what I call next gen gaming. This is not your typical
next gem.
No, this is a gem. I'll tell you why. Because this is basically what made me feel what the PS2 to PS3 jump was, and because the PS3 jump to the PS4 at the end of the era wasn't that drastically. It was big, but it wasn't like this huge jump into how.
Yeah, they were both HD consoles. Yeah. You're right.
So the fact that this is what I call, now we're getting into next gen gaming. This is what I like, speeds that I haven't seen in my entire life, and I have played with some good PCs, and I have played with some really good, consoles. Like, was it the Origins? A friend of mine was with an Origins PC that he custom made, and even that wasn't running that fast. That was not running that fast.
And just to add, I'm going to say his name again. I like saying his name. Takashi Mochizuki. He has tweeted below, Sony CEO to ensure, Sony CEO, the new one, has said the following: to ensure PlayStation will remain as the best place to play, Sony Interactive Entertainment to work on keeping and improving relationships with outside game developers. Furthermore, he says, in explaining PlayStation's seamless feature, the company used the phrase, anytime, anywhere, without disconnections. That's from Takashi over at the Wall Street Journal.
Dude, it's insane. I am shocked. I am without words right now.
Bring on next gen. Bring on next gen. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. I hope. Oh God, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And having said that, I mean, E3 is right around the corner. I think the fact that this leaked, I can't wait to see what Xbox is doing. I can't wait to see what Nintendo is doing with maybe the Switch. It's going to be a real interesting couple of 18 months, folks. I can tell you.
Yes, it is.
And you're going to get the best coverage over at the AEG right here.
Damn.
Someone's excited now.
Great.
It's
damn straight.
But moving on to Schreier's Kotaku article. This is a big one, fellas. This is a big one. Jeff, you want to take it away?
No, I was going to say, you. It's all you, buddy.
Okay. So Schreier over at Kotaku, we know Schreier. He's a great writer. He put out an article talking about how So then after 2019, which it's all rumored that Modern Warfare is going to come out from Infinity Ward. He put out an article saying that the next game, the next Activision, the next Call of Duty game in 2020 was being developed in tandem with Sledgehammer Games, who was their year to come up. The last time they had a game was 2017's World War II, along with Raven Games. I believe they're out in Wisconsin. So they've teamed up to work on the next game, and that's been canceled. They have canceled that game, and they have put the Treyarch team, not Infinity Ward, the Black Ops team, to come out with Black Ops 5. And the big thing coming out of this thing is about free-to-play.
Yes.
Free-to-play Call of Duty, which I read that and I said, wow, that's something else. I never really expected Activision to make such a big move with their biggest moneymaker. I mean, if you think about it, I don't know if you guys remember this list, especially for the listeners out there. If anybody listens to us, or if anybody's a big fan of gaming, over at Reset Era, there's a NPD analyst called Matt Piscatella, and a couple months back he put out this graph showing the best-selling games of every year since, I believe, 2000. I could be incorrect about that. I hope I'm not. And from 2007 onward, it's been mostly Call of Duty. The few times that it hasn't been Call of Duty, it's usually when a Rockstar game comes out, and rightfully so, or a Nintendo game earlier on before that. But for Activision to go free to play, I mean, that's big. What do you guys think about that?
It's huge. I mean, I don't even know. I want to find out what the details are behind it more than anything.
Microtransaction city. That's all I'm gonna say.
So just real quick context, because I like that Schreier wrote about it, and so Sledgehammer, I don't want to say lost, but the founders of Sledgehammer were Visceral's own Michael Condrey and Glenn Schofield, responsible for Dead Space over at EA Visceral, which has shut down. Rest in peace. But they founded Sledgehammer, and they became basically the third studio, because Activision doubled down and invested heavily on their Call of Duty franchise and had a 3-year development cycle for each Call of Duty. So you had Sledgehammer, you had Infinity Ward, and you had Treyarch, each working on Call of Duties in perpetuity, basically. But I believe since 2017, or after 2017, shortly after World War II released, Michael Condrey left, and he started up a studio over at 2K. And Glenn Schofield also left, although he hadn't started a studio. And Schreier reports that Sledgehammer has been hemorrhaging talent because when Condrey left, he took a lot of people with him. I don't know whether or not this led to Activision saying, "Hey, we're going to scrap whatever you guys are working on, and we're going to put Treyarch at the helm to release Black Ops 5." Just real quick, to quote Schreier, he says, "One primary reason behind this Call of Duty upheaval, according to two people familiar with happenings at Activision, is the tension between Sledgehammer and Raven, whose staff are said to have argued frequently during the past year of development on Call of Duty 2020. Two people familiar with the project described it as a mess. Now both studios will serve as support for Treyarch as the publisher prepares to release Black Ops 5. So we have two issues at the forefront, and that's Sledgehammer and Raven being taken down at the Call of Duty 2020, and for me, probably the biggest one, Call of Duty going free to play. We asked Jeff, he doesn't know. Marlon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I got nothing.
My thoughts on the whole situation is that, number one, Schreier is right now in heaven when it comes to just putting out articles like left and right that just deal with crunch time and with infighting.
He's got an agenda. Schreier clearly has
an agenda. I'll tell you that.
Press Sneak Fuck has an agenda. He wants these folks to unionize, and he wants to be the union president and gobble all the money. That's what he wants to do.
I wouldn't put it that way, but it sort of seems like it's going this direction. It's. I'll tell you something that I enjoyed about the article was the fact that he's basically telling that there's the fact that Raven was kicked out from the developing of this game and just basically said, "Listen, you guys are not quick to be doing this, so we're going to be having put sledgehammers into it." And I'm talking about Activision, not Schreier. If Schreier was part of Activision, I don't think he'll be talking a lot of this crap. So my take on this whole situation is that Sledgehammer is dealing with the issues that Sony was dealing with back in the early 2000s and early 2010s. That there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of factions within the company that are trying to basically just, step ahead of each other, and there's too many. What's the saying that my old teacher used to say? There's too many Indians running the show, and not enough. No, too many chiefs running the show, and not enough Indians to actually do the work for it. So it's interesting to look at it from the perspective of finally.
I got offended. The 5% Cherokee in me was offended. I think Elizabeth Warren was offended too.
Jesus Christ.
We're going to hell after this.
This episode, man, we're just offending everybody tonight.
No, like it says basically when you have too many people running the helm, you don't have
too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, you don't have leadership.
Thanks for saving him, Jeff.
Use a reference that is not going to offend some people.
It's a chaotic situation for Activision because there's one thing that I've always said about Activision is that no matter what happens, no matter what kind of games they put out, they always seem to be unified in the sense of like, okay, yeah, listen, we're all like, this is a very well-oiled machine, and that machine is breaking down. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I can tell you about that, because What do you think? Do you think it's getting a little bit too big for its shoes?
Absolutely. I mean, we're gonna touch this on the topic of the show, but I think that I'm not a. Oh, I don't want to categorize myself as a creative because that sort of sounds like pompous, right? But if you keep doing the same thing, well, you went to school for it, so you technically are. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's I like this because it really touches on the theme that we had a couple shows ago, if not the last one, when we touched about, hey, what can these developers do to not be stagnant and focus and depend on their established AAA franchises. And you have a clear example of this with Sledgehammer. People maybe are unhappy, they're tired of working on Call of Duty, you get burnt out on working on the same franchise. And these are world-class developers. These are world AAA, top of the line, top tier developers. You're investing so much money on Call of Duty. Why don't you say, hey, listen, we have 3 teams. We are financing 3 teams churning out Call of Duty. Why don't we tell these folks, hey, we're going to give one of these developers a year off, and the same 3 years that we give you to create Call of Duty, there's going to be 1 year that we're not going to release a COD. We're going to take a risk, and we're going to release a new IP. That's ours. It isn't like Destiny, which we don't own, but it's ours to wield and do what we want with it. And we can nurture it, and we can take the same 3 years that we did with COD. We can use it for a new IP. But Activision is, I don't want to say greedy, but they're just so focused on the bottom line. And I respect that. They're a business. They're in the business of making money. But they're also in the business of creating awesome gaming experiences. And I think that although Bobby Kotick has a responsibility to the investors, he also has a responsibility to the people who buy his games, to the consumers who love games of Activision. And it's great that you give us a great Call of Duty every year. I'm a convert. I used to hate COD. I was a COD hater. But I recognize that there are amazing games now. It is a great package that you get every year. You can count on it at the end of the year. You're going to get an amazing package in Call of Duty. But why don't you give us a different experience? Why don't you give us something else? And I think maybe this has led to what's going on, some of the turmoil over at Activision with Sledgehammer and the folks over at Raven. And it's very difficult to work together, even when you're under the same roof. So imagine working cross-country, somebody in Southern California over at Treyarch and then somebody in Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin. So, anyway, we'll see what happens with that. In terms of free-to-play, I don't know how that's going to shake out. We'll I guess we'll see. We'll see 2 years from now what happens with Call of Duty 2020. They say that it's going to be Black Ops 5. It's going to be set during the Cold War. It's going to have a campaign. Whether or not it'll have Blackout remains to be seen. This means now that Treyarch will have a shortened development schedule. It'll be 2 years instead of 3. So we'll see whether that will affect the game anyhow. There's so many questions. How can Treyarch work alongside Sledgehammer and Raven? Can these two studios put aside their, I don't want to say animosity, but infighting? Will Sledgehammer feel some type of way that this was their year to put out a game, but now they're working in support of another studio instead of what should have been their game, right? So it's just a lot of egos, a lot of in-office politicking. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, super interesting. I mean, we'll find out for sure. I mean, there's a lot of right now. I feel like a lot of these news stories are like little cracker crumbs of something that is a wait and see mentality. Like we don't know how this is going to affect the industry yet, but it's going to affect it in some way.
For sure.
So, moving on to one of our final topics is about.
You forgot.
I completely blanked, man. It's been a long goddamn day. The Sony Microsoft partnership. Yeah, one of the biggest things to happen this week. Goose, do you want to take this one as well, man?
Yeah, I'll take it real quick. So, actually, you caught me with my pants down because
I caught myself with my pads down. So.
Because I didn't have the article here, but I'll pull it up real quick. So, real quick, listeners. Microsoft and Sony are teaming up for the future of gaming. That is a title from The Verge. So it's a partnership in which we see, there was a picture of Sony CEO. He's got some Japanese name. I can't pull it up. And then we have Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, in which they have decided to collaborate together to develop. They called it Future Cloud Solutions for Game and Content Streaming Services, which I found odd. So first, when I first read this, my first thing was to basically point my nose upwards and just be like, I don't care about this. This means nothing to me. As usual, people on the internet were like, oh my God, does this mean crossplay? Does this mean crossplay? And I'm like, I don't think it means crossplay. And this is going to lead to the topic of the show, but I don't think it means crossplay at all. They didn't necessarily say that. Brad Sams over at Thoreau.com, he put out a video explaining what it probably meant, and it could mean cross game, but what it really means is that, so for example, just use the example of Netflix. Netflix relies on Amazon to host all of its content. Amazon is a powerhouse. They sell, they've got the online storefront, which is great, but the majority of the revenue is made through this service they called Amazon Web Services, and it's basically this cloud-based service that they offer to folks like Netflix to host their content. And Microsoft is trying to do something like that with Microsoft Azure or Azure. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly.
Azure.
Thank you. Azure. Mm-hmm. And they're also working on xCloud. And I just think it looks like a strategic partnership from Sony where they're like, hey, listen, we know that cloud gaming is going to be a thing. It sucks that we have to pay Microsoft and collaborate with them, but it's better to go with a proven leader than to start building a technology that, one, we know nothing about, two, we really don't want to invest in, and three, why should we build something that is not going to be better than our competitor when we can just pay our competitor to host our content? And that's basically the way it felt to me. I didn't necessarily think it's gonna everybody on the internet, we're like, oh my God, crossplay is coming. And not to sound elitist, but I will. I'm like, these idiots have no idea what the hell they're talking about. This is not what this means. It could very well happen, but I don't think this announcement means that. Having said that, when you guys saw the announcement or read the announcement, what did you guys think?
Jeff, I would say my initial thoughts, I really didn't know what to expect. I was thinking, I would say crossplay. Crossplay is a good one for something like that. I don't know. I don't really know. Again, it's what I was talking about earlier. It's a wait and see mentality. It's something, that, yes, this announcement kind of came out of nowhere, and it's definitely industry shaking, but it kind of came out of nowhere so much that Sony didn't even know what was going on.
So here is my take when I first read it, and looking back on it now, that when I first heard the news, my first thought was, it wasn't play, it wasn't that, it was, why are they doing this and why are they doing it now? And I thought about, EA with their Project Atlas. EA has about 1,000 employees working on Project Atlas, which is a cloud gaming streaming development platform, right? Like Google Stadia. So when Google Stadia came out, I'm thinking, okay, now we have two players trying to get this, Then NVIDIA also has its own GeForce, and Valve has Steam Link, which is its own personal cloud service. So we're having a lot of PC-based cloud services, And I feel like Sony and Microsoft are trying to say, hey, listen, we need to get this on now, or we're going to lose the race, not within us, but with the PC scene, And I think that's the issue that I see, that I feel like Microsoft and Sony are facing right now. Because, let's face it, console, it's not going to die anytime soon. But PC, over the past 10 years, has slowly been creeping up on them. Not only on their share of the market, but also on their share of, platforms like Netflix, Hulu. You have all this a la carte subscription-based programs that all need cloud storage and all need cloud, services to be able to run effectively. So I feel like they're trying to get their foot on the door, I guess you could say. Otherwise, they're just going to be left in the dust. Even now, Verizon is experimenting with a cloud game streaming as well. So you never know. It's E3 is going to be really interesting to watch. I'll tell you that. I feel like it's something like an infrastructure where they need it, because, like you said, Gustavo, it's like, why reinvent the wheel if your competitor has a better product and you can use it, Like, why spend money, time, and effort building something that may not even work correctly? Like, let's look at EA with the Frostbite engine. It sucks. It doesn't have what they needed to develop games correctly. Instead, they just could have just Unreal Engine, but they don't want to pay for it. So it's one of those things where do them if you don't, do them if you do. So, but that's just my take on it.
And moving on, I'm just gonna move on to the topic of the show real quick, and I'll segue it with this. So there was an article over at Bloomberg by I love saying these amazing Japanese names, Yuji Nakamura, and a boring name Dina Bass or Dina Bass. Sony's deal with Microsoft blindsided its own PlayStation team, which I read that. And I tweeted it out to our Discord, the AEG Discord, and then KJ, a friend of mine, and myself over at our own Discord, we were also having a conversation about that because he's like, "Hey, listen, we should talk about this as well. This could mean cross-platform gaming between Sony and Microsoft." And I called it out right away. I'm like, I don't think it means that. And as soon as I saw that, I wrote this big diatribe on our own Discord, not the AEG Discord, talking about how Sony has been really bad at leveraging all their existing businesses, and this is why it doesn't mean that. And literally the next day I wake up, which is today, Sony's deal with Microsoft blindsided its own PlayStation team, and I'm like, there you go. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. And what I really wanted to bring up was the topic of the show is Sony is a huge business. And I was talking to the guys, Marlon and Jeff and everybody over at the AEG Discord, and I was telling them that they really could have been, and this is not me saying it, this is me reading it from years past. Sony really could have been the next Apple. When you look at Apple, they've got the hardware, they certainly got the software, and they also have the content, right? They've signed deals with content providers like Netflix and things you'll find music on the App Store, you'll find video on the App Store, you'll find movies on the on the iTunes Store, sorry. And then you also have content like apps. And And I look back, and many have said this, not just me. Sony could have been that too. I mean, you think of Sony, they were ubiquitous with the Walkman back in the 70s and the 80s, even the early 90s. They owned Sony Pictures with Columbia. They owned Sony Music as well. But they never really were able to put it all together and give us what Apple gave us in the iPod and later the iPad and all their other devices, right? Yeah. But how does this tie to gaming? It ties to gaming because that was the way the PlayStation 3 was made. That's how all their systems were made. You had, if you think about it, Mark Cerny with the PS4 was the first one who changed that philosophy on its head, where he went to developers and he said, "Hey, what do you want from this console? What is going to work for you? What is going to make you not think about the tools and help you create games quicker, faster, more efficient, and in a way that's enjoyable to you, in which you're just focusing on creation and not the tools." Unlike the PS3, where there are reports that literally state you had the hardware team working on the PS3, and then when they were done, they went to the software team, they dumped it on their desk and said, "Here, make it work." Right? And it's the story of Sony. Now, having said that and set that up for the listeners, again, what do you guys think about that? Don't say I don't know.
I think miscommunication in any company is gonna be bullshit. Like it sucks, and that is not something that we've seen. We have not seen it end well. I mean, like you said, look at the PS3 with the, how that thing was so hard to develop for because the right hand was not talking to the left hand, and it was just not. It just wasn't good, and for this big of news to just blindside, somebody like that, that's not a good start. I don't think it means it's doom and gloom right from the beginning, but I don't think it's a good start for something like this. Marlon?
Here's the thing. Sony, it is a Japanese company. Japanese people are very particular about the way that they do things inside their companies. They believe in that it is us versus them. They are very nationalist. They don't like outside help, and they don't like when they're having to basically ask help from foreigners, specifically, USA-based companies and stuff like that. So when they do it, you know that they're like in deep trouble. Number one. Number two, Japan also has a very large and very colorful history when it comes to feudalism and just civil war and just infighting between each other. Everybody knows that every faction has their own way of doing things, so they are very stubborn in that aspect. So Sony's music aspect, their PS4 aspect, their television aspect, all their different infrastructures that they have when it comes to the company, they have a very particular way of doing things, and they don't like that having been messed around by the chiefs and the higher ups. So when you have that type of infighting, is because not only do you have egos clashing with each other in the company, you also have people's different interests. Some people would think that, hey, listen, we are better than the West. We believe that we can create a better product than they can. Why do we have to ask their help for this? Why do we have to create this cloud-based gaming platform with their help? Why can't we just do it ourselves? We have done this for decades. We in the early 90s, like for 50 years, they were the top dog when it comes to music. They were the company that brought us the Walkman. Okay, that was like the set standard for like 2 decades between the 80s and the 90s. And the fact that you had companies come in and basically do a much better job than you did leaves a very sour taste in it. So when Apple decided to basically take away most of their music share when it comes to Apple Music and the iPod and everything like that, I'm pretty sure that it left a very sour taste in Sony executives in the music department. The fact that they just started, hey, listen, no, we cannot let this go. We have to step up our game. And I'm pretty sure some of the CEOs in there told the higher ups at Sony, hey, listen, we need more help. We need more support from you guys. And I'm pretty sure the guys up top are like, not really. We don't really care much about that, because you're not bringing in dough as much as you used to. So that will create like this infighting. Like, I'm just going from the perspective of somebody who knows how the Japanese as a whole are, and they are very, very just nationalist, and they're just very much about themselves. So when it comes to honor, that they're very big on that. So when they feel like somebody has disrespected them, they just get really anal about it. So
I'm glad that you brought that up. I wouldn't want to characterize it as they being nationalists. I think that's a pretty big accusation to levy.
No, they're very about themselves.
And like he doubles down. You gotta love it. He doubles down. He's getting a bigger shovel today.
Try going to Japan as a foreigner, and
he's
you're not
doubling down again.
You gotta love it. I'm just telling you as it is. It's just the way it is.
Classic Marlon.
But I am happy that you did bring it up, because I think that culture is a very big thing when it comes to Japanese companies and them working with folks over at the West, which is over in the West, which I found to be so odd when they said, hey, listen, Mark Cerny was the architect of the PS4. And then before that, Mark Cerny was the architect of the Vita. So I think there was a little bit of self-reflection within Sony when they're probably their biggest moneymaker in PlayStation, certainly propping the company up, especially today with the far away and runaway success of the PS4. They were able to say, okay, we screwed up big time. We heard it from third-party developers. We heard it from our own developers. We know that we made it harder than it should have been because we were so focused on Exotica hardware, on Cell, on other factors that just didn't contribute to a healthy development environment. That they said, hey, listen, we're going to give this American guy somewhat complete control over the design of the system. And I think it's worked out pretty well for them. And hopefully it continues. Great. And we'll see what this partnership between Sony and Microsoft brings and bears. Hopefully it bears some good fruit. Hopefully it does lead to cross-platform gaming. I just because of Sony's history, I just don't think it will. I think it's very, again, the Bloomberg article says, hey, listen, the PlayStation group was taken aback. They were surprised. They're like, what does this mean? And again, that it seems like that same culture is still going on in some parts of Sony. I mean, they're this big conglomerate, this big company. They're old, they're tired. They've been working like this for years, right? So just to change that culture within the company is so difficult, especially within an organization that has so many moving parts that operate independent of one another when they really should operate in tandem and in lockstep.
Definitely.
But we'll see what this brings.
Yeah. Well, anybody else wanna say any final thoughts on our topic?
If anyone needs a golden shovel to dug themselves into a hole, you can call my number. It is 1-800 Minecraft Golden Shovels.
Jesus.
So, there's that.
All right. Anything else?
That's it, folks. It was a good show.
Yes, thank you guys for listening, and as always, you can find us on everywhere at the AEG show, anywhere that you see fit. We're finally back freaking up on all podcasts. I think everybody except iHeartRadio.
I think we're still waiting on iHeart. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when we did our awesome brand change, we didn't realize that it was going to affect every single one of our RSS feeds. So
living up to the A in average.
Yeah, no kidding.
But thank you, Dalton. You got to give a big shout out to Big D.
Big Daddy Dalton.
Big Daddy Dalton for making sure that we were up and running in no time. So thank you, Dalton.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dalton. But that's all the scoops we have for you this week, and we will see you next week here on the AEG show.